If a family member's passed away and you can't find a will or you don't know if they ever made one, you're probably feeling pretty overwhelmed right now. You might be thinking, how do we handle this? Who gets what? Or even who's supposed to be in charge? My name's Ryan Smith. I'm a licensed real estate agent and certified probate expert here in New Hanover County, North Carolina. And these are some of the things I help families with every day. So today I'm going to walk through exactly what happens when someone dies without a will in North Carolina, and who gets what according to the law and what steps you need to take now. Before we get started, my usual reminder, I'm not an attorney and this isn't legal advice. When someone dies without a will, things can get complicated quickly. So I strongly recommend speaking with a probate attorney. If you'd like a recommendation, I know several in our area, just reach out to me and I'd be happy to connect you. When someone dies without a will, it's called dying intestate. And here's what you need to understand. The state of North Carolina has a backup plan. The law spells out exactly who inherits what when there's no will. You don't get to choose. The family doesn't get to decide. The state law makes those decisions. So this might work out fine for your family, but sometimes it creates surprises or results that aren't what the deceased person would have chosen. Here's how North Carolina intestacy laws work. If there's a surviving spouse and no children, the spouse gets everything. If there's surviving spouse and children, and all the children are from that marriage, the spouse gets the first $60,000 of personal property plus half of everything else. The children split the other half equally. If there's a surviving spouse and children from different relationships, the spouse gets the first $60,000 plus 1/3 of everything else, and the children get 2/3, also split equally. And if there's no surviving spouse, but there are children, the children inherit everything equally. And if there's no spouse and no children, it goes to the parents, if they're living, then siblings, then nieces and nephews, and it just keeps going down the family tree. Let me give you a real world example. If your mother passed away, she was widowed, she has 3 children, you and your 2 siblings, no will. Under North Carolina law, you and your 2 siblings would inherit everything equally, so 1/3 each. But what if one sibling thinks they should get more because they took care of your mother during her later years? Without a will, state law would ultimately decide. So feelings and whatnot don't necessarily matter legally in that situation. So what are your next steps? First, determine who the legal heirs are according to the law, like I just explained. Make a list. You'll need this for your court paperwork anyway. Second, figure out what assets exist. That includes bank accounts, real estate, vehicles, investment accounts. Get the actual statements, find the deeds, find the titles. Thirdly, someone needs to step up and administer the estate. So North Carolina law has a priority list. It's surviving spouse first, then adult children, then parents, then siblings. So whoever it is needs to be willing to do the work. Fourth, that administering person files for probate at the clerk of the Superior Court, at least here in New Hanover County, which is downtown on Princess Street. And you'll file an application for what's called letters of administration. And then fifth step is notify all the heirs, because everyone's legally entitled to, that's legally entitled to inherit something needs to be notified. Once someone's appointed as the administrator gets letters of administration from the court, which gives them legal authority. They then collect all the assets, pay all the debts and expenses, file necessary tax returns, and distribute then what's left according to North Carolina intestacy laws. So the process is really similar to probate with a will that I've talked about in a lot of my other videos. The main difference is following state law instead of the instructions in a will. So the timeline's similar too, typically 9 months to a year, sometimes longer. Let's talk about some of the complications that come up more often when there's no will versus a will. So first and foremost, family disputes are much more common. Someone might think they deserve more or feel entitled to a specific item. Unintended beneficiaries might inherit things. The law might give property to someone the deceased didn't want to benefit, perhaps maybe an estranged child or family member that they haven't spoken to in years. Sometimes minor children who are inheriting things directly can create more complications. If it's property, someone has to manage the property until that child turns 18. There's also no guidance on who can inherit specific items in the estate. So, for example, perhaps your father always said, I want you to have my antique truck when I die. Without a will, that promise doesn't necessarily mean anything legally, so you might not actually get that truck. If there's real estate and no will, this can add further complexity. Let's say that your mother owned a house, again, didn't have a will, it was you and your two siblings, you all inherit equal shares of the house. So, needless to say, what to do next? Do you sell it and split the money? Does one sibling buy out the others? It helps if there's a will that gives guidance in those scenarios, because you all have to agree on what to do. And if you can't agree, then someone might have to go so far as to file what's called a petition action in court, which forces a sale of the property. So, if nothing else, do your best to get everyone on the same page as quickly as possible regarding what to do with the property. One of the questions I get a lot is, if there's no will, do you still have to go through probate? So the short answer is, it depends. If everything was owned jointly with right of survivorship, it will transfer automatically. So if everything had beneficiaries named, like bank accounts or some investment accounts, insurance policies, that all goes directly to the intended beneficiary. If the estate's small enough, which is under the $20,000 or $30,000 personal property thresholds I've mentioned in other videos, you can use what's called a small estate affidavit. If the assets are in the deceased person's name alone, then yes, you'll need to go through estate administration. So if you take nothing away other than this, if you take nothing else away from this video, just know that dying without a will makes everything harder for your family. You know, it limits our options, it can definitely create some conflict, and it might result in property from the estate going to people you wouldn't necessarily have chosen. So if you don't have a will yet, I recommend speaking with an estate planning attorney. Get one done, even if it's a basic one, because it's a heck of a lot better than nothing at all. The bottom line is, if someone dies without a will in North Carolina, the state law decides who inherits what. So there's a specific formula based on whether there's a spouse, children, parents, or other relatives. Someone needs to step up and administer the estate and file for probate, distribute assets according to state law instead of the deceased person's wishes. Like I said, it often takes 9 months to a year, sometimes more, and it can certainly create more complications than when there is a clear will to guide the family. So if you're dealing with an estate without a will, reach out to me with any questions. I'd be happy to help. And if there is real estate involved here in North Carolina, I can help you understand what the property is worth and then guide you through the process just to find out if selling even makes sense. I always recommend working with a probate attorney. If you need one in southeastern North Carolina, I'm happy to connect you. Just reach out to me and I'll make the connection. Make sure you subscribe, because I've got more videos covering every aspect of probate in North Carolina. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next video.